I'm Bob Brill. He's Erik Kramer. Welcome to Kramer and Brill, an NFL fantasy football podcast. Each week, my co-host, former Bears and Lions quarterback Erik Kramer, and myself delve into your fantasy football choices, hopefully help you out on your way to victory. You can find more by going to our website, kramerandbrill.com, or on my Bob Brill YouTube channel. Now, the NFL regular season is over. It ended crazy down to the last seconds for the playoff teams. Now we're into a weekend number 2 with 4 games. It was a wild weekend over a bad weekend for the Chargers as they fell victim to the Trevor Lawrence turnaround. He throws 4 interceptions in the first half, giving the Chargers a 27-0 lead. And then he throws 4 touchdowns in the second half, and the Jags pulled out 31-30. Field goal as time ran out after a big 4th and 1 run by Travis Etienne. And now, you've been saying all along, do you think that Brandon Staley's job is on the line? Because yesterday they did fire the offense coordinator, Joe Lombardi.
Didn't know that about Lombardi, but don't make it a habit about wishing people ill. But this is not about one bad game. This is 3 years worth of bad decisions. Face it, we all come in contact with consequences for our decisions and our actions. Nobody here is any different. And to work backwards in a meaningless game to end the season for the Chargers, in which they knew beforehand, didn't matter if they won or lost, it was not going to enhance in any way their playoff position. And yet he decides to play Joey Bosa, who walked off with an injury, and then Mike Williams, who got carted off and eventually broke, or I guess fractured, a bone in his back. That makes no sense, as do numerous other decisions in game that he also made over the course of this time. And so I feel in a way bad saying this, but I'm all on the bandwagon of bye-bye Brandon and welcome in Sean Payton.
And that might happen. I mean, Sean Payton's out there looking for a job, and he's getting a lot of talk. And there's a lot of good coaches out there that are, just waiting to get back in. You got Brian Flores, you got mentioned Payton. I'm sure Sean.
Well, some of these coordinators this year are lighting it up. Ben Johnson with the Lions.
Yeah.
And Mike Kafka with the Giants.
Erik Bieniemy.
Erik Bieniemy, exactly.
All right. In the other game, as expected, the Niners just blasted the Seahawks. The Niners are just on a roll, and I know you've loved them all season.
Well, what's not to love? I mean, you've got probably the best team in football on both sides of the field. You've got probably the best coaching staff from top to bottom. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan knows a little bit about what he's doing. And then you've got an elite defensive coordinator, DeMarco Ryans, leading the NFL's best defense. And you've also got Mr. Irrelevant leading probably the NFL's best offense at this point, and 2 of the most dynamic weapons that no one else has a Deebo Samuel or Christian McCaffrey. And I just think there's so much going right for this team. What are they on, a 10-game winning streak? And it like, how do you not identify what seems obvious? They're the best team right now, bar none.
The Sunday game saw Miami battling it out with the Bills, and the Bills almost blew that one. Now, they've played Miami close 3 times in a row now, but I'm not so sure they are the powerhouse we thought they were.
No, I think they very much remind me of this year's Dallas Cowboys. Well, they'll show flashes of greatness, followed by multiple games of lethargy. And they nearly threw this one away. You tell me, how is it that Skylar Thompson, who's their 3rd team rookie quarterback, completes about 30% of his passes, maybe, for a couple hundred yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And yet at the end of the game, the powerhouse Bills are scrambling to win this game. And they damn near threw it away. I mean, Josh Allen was back once again, 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and a fumble that went for a touchdown. And I don't get it. I mean, they're kind of like that, Bills team of the 90s that had ton of potential. They're all great right up until the Super Bowl. And who wants to have that tag of almost getting there?
And the Bills have had that for a long time. The Ravens lost a close one. They should not have lost to Cincinnati. Huntley to me looks like the ultimate version of a really talented guy who couldn't make a good decision if his life depended on it. And then trying to score a touchdown over the middle by holding the ball out was not smart, and it cost him the game. That was the most unusual play I think I've ever seen in NFL football.
Tough to watch, and I agree with you. And yet he's the same guy who can look very poised. He can outrun the pass rush. He's a true weapon in the running game, and he comes with none of the baggage that Lamar Jackson has now become. And it's not like the Bengals tossed this game away. They were right there at the end, the Ravens. And so, but yet, at some point, do you start looking at the head coach? Because when's the last time John Harbaugh, when's the last time his team, the Ravens, won a meaningful playoff game? When's the last time their defense showed up? When's the last time their offense showed up? I mean, they traded away Hollywood Brown and Orlando Brown, the great wide receiver as well as the elite left tackle. So I don't know. I mean, what did you replace them with? And then you can't get a deal done with Lamar Jackson. And don't get me wrong, I think Lamar Jackson is holding them hostage, and great, trade him away, but get a lot for him. But at the same time, I'm not quite convinced John Harbaugh is any longer the right guy.
Where do you suspect that Jackson goes? I mean, I think he's done. I think he's going to go somewhere. I think they replace him with Hartley or with one of the good young quarterbacks coming out in the draft. Who's it take?
The team I heard tossed around was the Atlanta Falcons, because they have a similar type of offense set up for him. Obviously the one Arthur Smith built in Tennessee, then took with him to Atlanta. They don't have a quarterback. And as good as Desmond Ridder is, he's not that guy.
No.
And so that's a possibility. I mean, I'm sure, he's right in the prime of his career. So I'm sure there's a lot of other teams that could sort of run that style of offense and build that team around Lamar Jackson. It's just that Lamar Jackson had no one to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't drop back and throw it 18 times to Mark Andrews.
No. And that's not even like throwing it to Cooper Kupp.
I know you like him, and deservedly so.
I don't know. That might be a good fit for the Rams. I'm not so sure.
I agree with you. I mean,
yeah.
But obviously now Matthew Stafford has said he's coming back along with Sean McVay, and so I think they're gonna run that course at least one more time.
I think you're right. And we're looking at the Giants. I tell you, I looked at the Giants, and I think they're for real. I had the Vikings from the start of this one, and wow, as you've been saying for weeks now, Daniel Jones is the real deal. And coupled with Barkley, they may be headed to the Super Bowl.
I don't know if I'm willing just yet to say they're Super Bowl bound, because you got San Francisco and you've got the Eagles on this side of the ledger. But there's who in their right mind that follows this game would have even thought the Giants this year would have been a contender at all. And yet they were right down there to the wire. And so I mean, Brian Daboll's got a ton of credit. Wink Martindale, deservedly so, also has got a lot of credit. And the guy who nobody seems to recognize is Mike Kafka, although, he's now starting to get head coaching interviews, and deservedly so. And when's the last time that in what does he play Daniel Jones now? This is his third year? Third or fourth, right?
Oh, Daniel Jones?
Fourth. Daniel Jones, yeah. Fourth year. Okay. So when before this year has anyone said, oh, this guy's legit? So start to finish this year, and they're not even finished. And the fact that it's really been him, because Saquon Barkley has been great at times, but silent at other times. And I just think that the two of them together, you can build now you can build your offense around these two guys along, and they've got some nice pieces up front. But they literally, remember the no-name defense of the 72 Dolphins?
Yeah.
Right. This is the no-name group of receivers with the Giants. And
it's like nobody can pick out one guy, right? And there's a couple of guys, the names are so familiar. It's like, who? Slayton? Yeah. Hey,
Exactly. He'd be throwing to backup tight ends on other teams, his own. Receivers, likewise. And beyond Saquon Barkley, who do they have at running back?
Yeah,
And they have Daniel Jones. That's who. And so he's become, to me, an elite precision passer that can read defenses and is makes subtle movements to buy time in the pocket. He's now stepped up into that elite category of running quarterback, and he's a leader. And so I love what the Giants are doing. I hope they stick with it and just keep riding it out. No changes to be made that I can see other than additions.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen a Monday night playoff game in the NFL. This may have been the first one.
I think this is the first.
Dallas over the Bucks, as it should have been. The under 500 Bucks and an aging Tom Brady, and an overachieving Cowboys with a middle linebacker that's just over the top, like
a middle linebacker who doesn't even play middle linebacker, Micah Parsons, right? If he lines up at middle linebacker, he's rushing the quarterback.
Where did he go to college? Penn State. Not that I went there. It's just my favorite school.
I got it in your state, though. I get it. And so, yeah, I mean, here's a team that, again, kind of like the Bills, right? They've shown flashes of being brilliant on offense. They've also shown flashes that they couldn't start for a high school team.
Yeah.
And then their defense also kind of incredibly great to very average, can't stop the run. Well, they both showed up this game. The only guy that didn't show up was their kicker. So I was surprised they didn't cut him at halftime, but I guarantee you he won't be on the plane going out to San Francisco. And
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just saying, let's get right to the game. Saturday, we're talking Jags and Chiefs. Jags look good, but the Chiefs are not the Chargers. Now, if Lawrence gets off to a bad start, Andy Reid's going to close this game out pretty quick. So I got to like the Chiefs here, and I do think that Lawrence has a good game. Chiefs, pretty much, you go with anybody on this team.
I agree with you. And I think that, well, first of all, let's get this straight. It's not Andy Reid. He's not out there. It's Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs at home, that it's not like he's going to make a mistake. And so I think Trevor Lawrence is going to play well. I think the Jaguars team is going to play well. And I still think the Chiefs are going to win, but I think the Jags are going to represent themselves very well in this game.
Giants and Eagles, I'm all in on the G-men this week. Like I said, I think Barkley's good for well over 100 yards. I think Daniel Jones will be stellar. I don't think the Eagles' offense can match the Giants this week, and they will need to force the defense to shut down New York. And I don't see it happening. I just don't. Not this week.
Bold prediction. I like it. And here's the thing. Wherever Jalen Hurts is with the shoulder rehab recovery, none of us really know. He did play in that last game of the season against the Giants. Didn't look very good, even though they won. But this is a Giants team now that is, I mean, they believe in themselves, deservedly so. And I think you're right. I'm not sure the Eagles can offensively keep pace with where the Giants are at right now. The Vikings couldn't. And so, I think defensively the Giants are better than people have given them credit for. And the Eagles have kind of been sitting around waiting for the quarterback to get healthy. And who knows if he even is. And so I'm with you. I'm not saying the Giants are going to win this game, but I am saying they're going to play very well. And the Eagles are going to have to play a great game to win.
And the thing about the Eagles, they got off to such an early win streak that they kind of coasted. They weren't. I don't think they were the same second half team that they were. Well, if you go by halves, that they were in the first half. I mean, I think they got out in front, and they didn't seem as spectacular as they did early on. Maybe they played bad.
I agree with you. Remember when they went to Chicago, who, by the way, has the worst team in the NFL, or worst record in the NFL. The first half, they went punch for punch. And then, Philadelphia eventually overwhelmed them. But that's also a game that Jalen Hurts got injured. And so, I think the Giants are talent-wise, top to bottom, maybe not there with the Eagles, but they've got something the Eagles don't. And that's this chemistry they've been building now for the last half of the season.
Bengals and Bills on the first Sunday game. Bengals got luck. And, it's always been said I'd rather be lucky than good. Well, the Bengals got luck on their side, and so do the Bills. So it's a matter of this week who's better prepared. I like the Bills, but I think the Bengals have more weapons on a roll and in a groove. Keep an eye on Mixon. He was shaken up during the last game, but I think the rest of the weapons are there, and I think the rest of the weapons will succeed.
I agree with you. And I think, if you think back, the beginning of the season, the Bengals, it was Joe Burrow who got off to the slow start. And like, what's wrong with him, including me? Well, ever since those first, 3 or 4 games, this guy's been on a roll, as has a very deep offense. I mean, they're too deep everywhere.
Yeah.
3 deep, 40. When it comes to too deep at running back, very good, both Ryan and Mixon. And then you've got a just slew of receivers and Joe Burrow pulling the trigger and an improved offensive line. And so I think they're underrated defensively. I agree with you. I think the Bills can't come in and be the team they were last weekend against the Dolphins.
Yeah, not at all.
Hope to win this game. There's no chance. I think the Bengals deserved to be in that Super Bowl last year with a fragile offensive line. And now I think even though they squeaked over the Ravens, they're still solid. No one's beating them. I don't think the Bills will beat them this weekend.
Cowboys at Niners. I don't think the Niners are going to lose this one on Purdy. And, Purdy is proved himself. And I think he might be the next Josh Allen if we judge NFL quarterbacks by the standard that Josh Allen is, as well as Patrick Mahomes, two different. They're not that different, but I mean, they are somewhat different. I think Purdy could be the next Josh Allen, and that team is looking to him. They're every time I hear somebody talk, it's like we're relying on this guy. We trust him. We've got confidence. As you know, if the team has confidence in the leader, good things happen.
I'm not sure if I would liken him to Josh Allen at this point. I think he's better. He doesn't make mistakes. He makes great decisions. He's clutch. He finds a way to maneuver around and make plays where he's not throwing interceptions or fumbles for touchdowns. And he's not playing. He doesn't look, to me, he doesn't look to be playing as though he feels any pressure at all. He's just enjoying the moment. And you've got around him, I think, the best set of offensive players that are coached the best by the best set of coaches in the NFL. And then who says their defense isn't any good? They're the best in the league. And so you're right. I agree with you. There's no way Dallas, who has never put 2 good games together all year, is now going to hop on a plane, go back out to San Francisco, and do what they did this coming weekend as like what they played against Tampa. Tampa in no way deserved to be in the playoffs. No way. No. And they could not have beaten high school teams this year at various times. And so, you saw Brady last year. He didn't want to take it. He didn't want to be there in that game. No. And people calling him the greatest of all time. Not anymore. And that's been all year long. Yes, he's got great numbers and he throws for 1,000,000 yards. And he threw 65 times last night. And that's not the San Francisco 49ers. You're going to have to stop the league's best running and passing game.
And time has a way of passing you by at some point. And I think Tom Brady's there. He may come back for one more year. I'm not sure he will, but he doesn't seem to be the type of guy that wants to go out with a loss. But either way, his season is probably going to end on a loss.
Hey, nobody wants to go out with a loss. But chances are, if you're going to go out, you're going to go out with a loss.
Yeah, unless you're John Elway.
Unless you're John Elway, but he scripted a little differently.
Terry Bradshaw did that too. He got taken out at halftime. The Steelers ended up winning the game. It was funny because it was his last game ever. He hurt his elbow and throwing a touchdown pass that put them ahead on a Saturday game, and that win would have put them in the playoffs. And I forget who. It was Cliff Stout, who was the backup quarterback, who came in and almost lost it. But the Steelers made it in the playoffs, and Bradshaw never played again. He never played the playoffs because his elbow was shot. But that was.
You are the Steelers historian, so
I was
I tip my hat to you for that.
All right, there you have it. Another edition of Kramer and Brill. Find out more by going to our website, kramerandbrill.com, or on my Bob Brill YouTube channel. My friend and colleague Erik Kramer, I'm Bob Brill, and we will see you next time.